And southern Argentina is battling a severe wildfire crisis as massive.
Well, we are more than 24 hours now removed from the fatal incident involving...
Strike! 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 What do we want?
No, for real, what is that?
Yo, what the frick? What the actual frick?
Do you feel that invisible pressure tightening around the present moment? When everything that used to feel steady starts cracking all at once, worry about tomorrow slips into every breath, and time seems to be shrinking until it's hard to breathe. In just a short span, 10 things hit one after another. They explode, burn, spread, tear apart, and cover both the earth and the sky. Order shakes, nature screams. Strange signs come fast and furious, like they won't even give people time to catch their breath. Right in the middle of that whirlwind, the story is still unfinished, like a door that hasn't quite closed yet, waiting for you to keep going down the path. If something uneasy and faithful stirs in your heart, leave a prayer in the comments below as a way to express your faith in these tough times. And now, we won't have to wait long. We're jumping right in with 1. Protests spread across America after Alex Pretty's death. Chaos breaks out. Fierce protests spread from Minneapolis to New York City, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. Internal conflicts are tearing American society apart. What's really happening to America when the streets are shaking all at once and everyday order just falls apart? Hot news keeps pouring in amid this tense atmosphere, where worry spreads faster than any explanation. As you can see, right now the feeling of chaos isn't far away. It's right there at the intersections, in front of hospitals, and in every shout on the streets. It all started in Minneapolis, where Alex Pretty, an ICU nurse, lost his life after an encounter with federal immigration agents. In no time, this sparked a wave of protests driven by professional unity and social concerns, spreading like a chain reaction. Candlelight vigils quickly turned into huge crowds, putting real pressure on law enforcement and local officials. In Minneapolis, tense standoffs broke out around government buildings. Traffic was blocked for hours, and major roads were jammed for miles. According to CNN, the number of people at the hotspots grew fast each day, with healthcare workers clearly visible carrying signs demanding justice. Sociologists say the cause isn't just one single incident, but years of built-up frustration over policies and job worries. That wave quickly moved beyond Minneapolis, reaching New York City, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. In NYC, nurses and medical staff joined in large numbers, turning squares and main streets into seas of people. According to CNN, business got disrupted, retail sales dropped noticeably, and the tension between everyday folks and the federal government became more obvious, deepening the cracks in society. Matthew 24:6-7 warned, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation." Those words ring like a bell right now. As internal divisions grow and stop being just local, they're becoming a nationwide wave. Some folks say this is only a short-term result of immigration policy fights, and it'll calm down soon. But political analysts warn that the scale of mobilization, how widespread it is, and the level of confrontation show something deeper breaking in society. According to CNN, the loss of trust between communities and institutions has reached a dangerous point. Luke 21:9-10 says clearly, "When you hear of rebellions, do not be frightened. Nation will rise against nation." In light of that warning, what's happening isn't just scattered events anymore. It's a sign of growing inner chaos coming out. The reality is, this division isn't standing still. It's spreading, growing, and bringing unpredictable consequences for the future. When a country once seen as a symbol of stability starts tearing itself apart from the inside, the big question left hanging is, will this wave stop at the borders? Or will it pull all of humanity into an even bigger storm ahead. 2. A big fire completely wiped out the entire Kasongan market area in Indonesia, Kasongan Market, in Katingan Regency, Central Kalimantan, Indonesia, has been totally burned down. Flames swept through Kasongan Market like a red wave, licking up everything in their path and leaving a choking, burnt smell behind. In that moment, all you could see was tin roofs crashing down, market stalls in ruins, and sparks flying into the dark night. The sense of total destruction didn't need words. It shouted through the blinding light and sharp crackling sounds. Kasongan Market used to be the busy trading hub of Katingan Regency, packed with hundreds of kiosks and homes right next door. The fire started in the main area and spread super fast along the wooden stalls and flammable materials. Reports say in just a short time, whole blocks were completely destroyed. Thick black smoke rolled up covering the sky, and people had to run in panic. The cold numbers show how bad the damage was. Reports say hundreds of kiosks were wrecked. Dozens of nearby homes can't be used anymore, and thousands of people lost their way to make a living overnight. Thick dust and ash filled the air over a wide area, seriously affecting people's health and the surroundings. Revelation 8-7 says, "Hail and fire mixed with blood fell to the earth. A third of the land was burned up." When you read that again, it's hard not to see the image of the flames swallowing Kasongan Market and connect it to warnings about widespread destruction. The Bible doesn't go into technical details, but it sets the scene so people can realize how fragile the world we depend on really is. The fire wasn't just about losing things. Local livelihoods got wiped out, supply chains broke, and worry hangs heavy as folks don't know where to start again. Similar market fires have happened in many Asian countries, but they seem to come more often and cause bigger damage lately, making it feel like fire is no longer a rare accident. Matthew 24-7 mentions, "There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." In this light, those words hint at a chain of effects, where physical destruction leads to livelihood crises and social unrest. The Bible acts like a mirror, helping us see the bigger picture behind this one fire. Still, some folks have a different view and say the cause could be an electrical short or long dry weather, things we see in many fires. But the speed it spread and the huge scale made experts warn about the dangerous mix of flammable buildings and tougher weather conditions. Reports say this isn't just a local problem anymore. The flames at Kasongan have died down, but the scars are still smoldering in people's lives and in the questions that don't have answers yet. If a whole market can disappear in just a few hours, are other fires waiting to spread more, like signs of bigger destruction coming next? 3. Wildfire in Cholila, Argentina. Forests covered in smoke and flames. Living forests burned fiercely. More than 74,000 acres of forest gone in a sea of fire. That raw number hits you like a punch you didn't see coming. It's not just a few small fires here and there, but a huge ecosystem in Cholila, Patagonia, being wiped out hour by hour. As the burned area keeps growing, we're forced to face the question, how much more can nature take? The fire started strong with dry weather and high winds, quickly getting out of control. Ancient forests have burned brightly for days and nights with no sign of stopping, and the flames are now getting close to nearby towns. Many highways had to shut down, leaving Cholila cut off in thick smoke and ash. Early numbers say thousands of wild animals couldn't get away and died in the fire or from the smoke. The good forest soil was burned so badly it might never come back. Toxic smoke has spread dozens of miles, hurting air quality all over the area. Some online news says local officials declared an emergency and keep warning people to evacuate. Revelation 8-7 once described, "Hail and fire mixed with blood were hurled down on the earth, and a third of the earth was burned up." When you look at those words next to the bright red burning forests of Cholila, the Bible verse doesn't feel like some far-off symbol anymore. It starts to explain this chain of disasters that keep coming back bigger each time. Climate experts warn that strong winds in Patagonia could make the fire turn suddenly, spreading faster than anyone thought. Local authorities admit the risk of its spreading is still very high, especially with firefighting stretched thin and the tough mountain terrain. All these things make stopping the fire really hard. Joel 1:19-20 says, "The fire has devoured the open pastures, and the flame has consumed all the trees of the field. Even the streams of water have dried up." This Bible passage is like a guide, showing why when the forests burn, everything living around them starts to die off too. Some say climate change and strong winds are the direct causes, but what's really worrying is how these big wildfires keep happening over and over around the world. From North America to South America, from Australia to Europe, forests, the source of life, are being burned again and again, leaving behind land that's hard to bring back to life. The fire in Cholula still isn't fully out, and the cracking sounds from the burning forest are like a cry for help coming up from the ground. If nature is speaking this loudly and clearly, are we really listening? Or will we only wake up when the next fire has already started? 4. A faint, mysterious purple streak, like a tear in the night sky. As night fell, the quiet sky suddenly showed a soft purple glow. It wasn't bright like the northern lights, and it didn't flash like lightning. It just stretched out quietly, thin and deep, looking like a fresh crack had opened up in the middle of the sky. No bang, no warning, just a chilly feeling down your spine as that light hung there, challenging everything we think we know about the night sky. People spotted this in different places. It appeared, then faded away in just a few minutes, leaving everyone amazed and a bit unsettled. The hazy purple streak stretched for hundreds of miles, sometimes curving, sometimes looking like it was torn straight down, making folks think of an invisible curtain being ripped open. A lot of people compared it to Steve, that purple light tied to magnetic storms and plasma flows high up in the atmosphere. But the feeling you got looking at it went way beyond what science usually explains. Standing under a sky like that, have you ever wondered if something's being revealed, not just some cold physical reaction? That question comes up pretty naturally. The main feeling isn't pure fear. It's more confusion mixed with curiosity, like we've just seen a sign but don't quite get what it means yet. Revelation 6:14 once described it this way: "The sky receded like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved from its place." That picture isn't about specific lights or colors. It's about the sky's whole structure changing, about the familiar order getting folded away. When a long purple tear shows up in the dark, a lot of people can't help connecting it to that scene, more as a gentle hint than a final answer. Matthew 24-29 puts it plainly too. "The sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken." Folks often bring up that verse when the sky stops acting the way it's supposed to. This hazy purple light doesn't come from the sun or moon, isn't a meteor shower. So quite a few people feel like those powers in the heavens are shifting in ways that are hard to pin down. Of course, online folks quickly split into different camps. Some say it's just Steve or a rare, strong aurora caused by unusual magnetic activity. Others point out that science can describe how it works but hasn't really touched why these things are showing up more often and hitting people so emotionally. Both views exist side by side, bumping into each other but not canceling each other out. The thing that stands out is this: no matter which side you're on, hardly anyone can just shrug it off. That streak didn't just show up in the sky. It quietly stirred up a question inside the people watching. When the sky starts looking strange and different, is it only nature putting on a show? Or could it be a quiet signal that the familiar things are about to step aside for something much bigger that's getting ready to appear? 5. Those strange clouds curl round like big ocean waves. The sky isn't raining, and there's no storm coming, but the clouds are rolling up into neat, curved strips, looking just like giant waves standing straight up in the air. They don't drift quietly like regular clouds. They stack and layer over each other, making the whole sky feel like it's moving. Seeing something like that, have you ever wondered if it's just a random shape, or maybe some ancient memory being brought back? From far away, these clouds look like huge waves frozen high in the sky, with sharp, carved-looking curves. Some folks think of old engravings in ancient drawings, where water and sky blend together, and the line between up above and down below seems to disappear. That feeling makes a lot of people think of the Great Flood, not with real water this time, but with a haunting visual reminder. In Genesis 6:11-1-3, the Bible says, "The earth was filled with violence before God. I will destroy them with the earth." This part doesn't talk about waves or clouds, but it describes widespread corruption and a moment of warning before everything happened. When the sky shows shapes that remind people of flood waves, many feel it's more like a gentle hint than a harsh judgment, a reminder of what happened when folks ignored the warnings. Weather experts explain this as Kelvin-Helmholtz clouds. They form when two layers of air slide past each other at different speeds, creating those rolling waves, just like breakers on the shore. It's a rare sight, only happening under very specific conditions, and people have been noticing them more lately, which gets folks paying attention. From a science view, it's just wind shear and temperature differences at work. A beautiful picture, but purely physical. Still, the uncanny resemblance between these clouds and ocean waves keeps sparking thoughts. In Genesis 9:11, after the flood, the promise comes again, "I establish my covenant with you, that never again will all life be destroyed by the waters of a flood." That promise is about water, but it doesn't rule out other kinds of wake-up calls. For many, wave clouds aren't signaling a new flood. They're a nudge that history can repeat when people let their guard down. So the debate spreads online. Some see it as just a rare, pretty atmospheric show, while others feel there's deeper meaning behind it. Two ways of looking, side by side. One based on facts and data, the other on instinct and religious memory. What's interesting is both sides admit it feels unusual standing under that sky, as if nature is trying to say something without words. Those rounded clouds eventually fade away, leaving the sky looking normal again, but the question still hangs there. If this really is a soft reminder, not by floodwaters but by pictures in the sky, are people today awake enough to take notice and get ready? Or will we just look up, snap a photo, and keep walking like we didn't see a thing? 6. The floodwater had a blood-red color in Portugal. The rushing flood poured down a familiar road, but its color stopped everyone in their tracks. A deep, thick red, like fresh blood spilling from a huge wound. It wasn't the usual muddy brown from dirt, or the orange you often see after heavy rain. No, this was a fierce, intense red that covered the whole street and swept away any sense of safety. The fast-moving water rushed through the streets, catching the streetlights and turning them into shaky, haunting red streaks. People stood along the sides, not just scared, but confused too. The sight was terrifying and strangely beautiful in a creepy way that's hard to explain. For a moment, it felt like we were watching an end-of-the-world painting come to life right in front of us, where the line between nature and a symbol just blurred away. Early reports say the red flood came after heavy rain. It might have picked up red soil sediment from upstream, or maybe it was a red algae bloom. Either way, the uneasy feeling spread fast. History has records of blood, rain, or water turning strange colors in medieval Europe, and those events always brought widespread fear and whispers of coming disaster. In Portugal, it seems like those old memories got stirred up again. In Joel 2:33-1, the Bible says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and pillars of smoke. The sun will turn dark, and the moon will turn to blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes." Here, blood isn't just a liquid, it's an accusing image, a sign that forces people to stop and face the truth about themselves. As the red water flowed over car wheels and front steps, it felt like a silent indictment, asking what might be hidden under the normal surface of the world. Revelation 6:12 also talks about the moment when the moon became like blood, tied to the shaking of the old order. Those words hit hard when you see red covering the ground like that. Scientists say this is a natural thing, explained by geology or biology. But even that explanation doesn't wipe away the unsettled feeling. Because sometimes the real meaning isn't in the physical cause, it's in how it touches our deepest fears. That red flood didn't attack with its force, it hit with its image. When the water finally went down, the road came back into view, but the mark it left in people's minds stayed. If blood has been used as a warning sign in history and the Bible, what is this picture calling out in our time? And if this is just the start, will the next signs paint the sky and earth with even scarier colors? 7. Roman gold treasure found under an ancient temple. A Roman treasure buried for centuries suddenly comes to light, golden warrior statue and shining gold bars under the old temple. Deep under the cold stone floor of an ancient Roman temple, a hidden space was unexpectedly opened, revealing a golden glow that hadn't been seen in hundreds of years. A sense of wonder spreads as the old walls seem to whisper about a long-buried past, and you can almost picture that historic moment when light first touched the gold after centuries of quiet sleep. Inside the sealed chamber, explorers found a finely crafted golden warrior statue, surrounded by stacks of gold bars, clear signs of a deliberate hiding ritual. The quiet temple space suddenly felt like a meeting point between the sacred and worldly power, where riches were placed at the feet of the gods as a plea for protection. The sight fills you with amazement at the scale and wealth of that ancient empire. Similar finds have turned up in Italy, Turkey, and Israel, where Roman hoards were discovered near temples or religious sites, showing the custom of hiding gold during troubled times. The money value of this treasure is huge, but its historical value is even greater, since it shows the old fears of loss and the deep desire to endure through changing times. In Matthew 6:19-1, the Bible warns, "Do not store up treasures on earth, where moths and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up treasures in heaven, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." Those words ring out like an explanation, shining a light right on this newly revealed gold. Treasure was once seen as proof of power and safety, but time has shown how fragile it really is. The gold is still there, but the people who hid it are long gone, leaving us to wonder about the true meaning of wealth. In our own unsteady modern world, this ancient find makes many people pause and think, rather than just get excited. Archaeology experts say this was likely a chance discovery, the result of surveys and good luck. They stress the scientific view. The gold was hidden because of war, conflict, or religious reasons, which fits perfectly with Roman history. But from another angle, some people see a symbolic message in it coming to light, that what people cling to will eventually be revealed. Between these two views, the truth lies quietly, just like that secret chamber under the temple. The shining treasure doesn't just tell a story from the past. It also mirrors our present, where people keep searching for lasting value among things that don't last. As buried secrets slowly rise into the light, is it just the luck of archaeology, or a sign that a time of judgment and clarity is drawing very near? 8. Strange glowing orbs hovering over the sea. Right at sunset, the ocean suddenly got torn open by floating lights. They appeared in a perfectly straight line, then changed formation right along the horizon. No sound at all, no warning, just bright lights standing out against the orange-pink sky, making all the usual explanations feel pretty shaky. That deep silence only made the unease and mystery feel heavier. From the deck of a ferry crossing open water, several crew members watched dozens of glowing balls flying in perfect sync, spreading apart, then closing back up like something was controlling them. Their light reflected off the waves, creating a tense, eerie scene. You could really feel that moment when people face something way beyond everyday experience. Nobody spoke up. Every eye just followed the sky, almost afraid to break that fragile order. Videos spread quickly online. They show the objects holding a steady height, moving across the sea for several minutes before fading as full darkness came. Some clips capture them changing formation in a steady rhythm, nothing like regular flares or navigation lights. The common feeling was curiosity mixed with worry, because this happened in a place the sailors know well, yet it carried the look of something you can't quite name. In Luke 21:25, the Bible says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." Those words come to mind when strange lights show up right over the ocean, like nature is sending a signal beyond human language. Some folks also connect it to descriptions in Revelation about signs in the sky, where lights and unusual events mark a major time of change. These passages aren't meant to replace a scientific explanation, but they put the sighting in a bigger picture, one that reminds us how limited our understanding is compared to the universe. On the forums, opinions split hard. One side says it's probably military activity, test drones, or a rare optical effect over water. They point to past examples and modern tech. The other side stresses how synchronized and long-lasting it was, saying the usual explanations just don't hold up. Both groups share evidence and argue their points, but nobody's reached agreement yet. Amid all these different views, the phenomenon still hangs there like a question mark over the water. Whether you look through the lens of science or faith, the sudden appearance of those glowing balls across the ocean isn't just a visual moment, it's a reminder of things still hidden from us. If the sky and sea are sending a signal, what comes next in that chain of signs? 9. The storm with a sharp white cloud wall like ice. Sharp white cloud wall hanging down like ice. Lightning flashing on a mysterious gray-orange sky. The strange storm covering everything. The sky suddenly drops, with a solid white wall of clouds, edges sharp like huge pieces of ice hanging there, pressing the air until it's hard to breathe. That orange-gray light covers the whole horizon, making the whole scene feel fierce and scary. You can really feel the moment when nature switches to something that won't hold back. The thick clouds roll and hang low, ready to crush anything below. The sharp edges and pouches sticking out remind you of those mammatus clouds you see in the worst supercell storms. Lightning rips through the sky, striking close to the ground. The white-blue flash bounces off the clouds and gives this heavy, pressing feeling, like the sky's unloading anger it's held in for a long time. The storm moves slow but very threatening. Every minute that passes makes the air feel thicker. The wind keeps shifting directions, and the ground shakes a little with those deep, rumbling thunderclaps. Its awesome beauty doesn't comfort you. It brings out that raw fear when people feel tiny in front of a power way beyond control. Every move shows this isn't just a regular thunderstorm. In Matthew 24:7, the Bible warns, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." Those words sound like an early heads-up, putting this storm in the middle of bigger changes the world is seeing. Revelation 8:5 goes on to say, "The angel threw his censer to the earth, and there came peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake." That picture of thunder, lightning, and shaking from so long ago matches this scene in a strange way. Like the storm isn't just weather, it's carrying a deeper warning. A lot of people explain this as the typical setup of a supercell, where big differences in temperature and moisture build those wild cloud walls. Still, when storms like this show up more often, get stronger, and look more extreme, that uneasy feeling spreads. Science can explain how it works, but it doesn't take away the worry. The storm keeps coming. The cloud wall keeps dropping lower, and the sky shows no sign of calming down. If this is a warning sent through thunder and clouds, then when the storm finally hits its peak, what happens next for a world already under so much pressure? 10. Strange circle over Texas, like a gate between two worlds opening up. That day, the Texas sky was covered completely with a smooth white layer, so calm and flat it seemed like there was nothing to say about it. Then, right in the middle of that thick cloud bank, A thin circle appeared, pale gray like mist, with sharp, cold edges and completely separate. The first feeling wasn't fear. It was more like hesitation, as if your eyes were seeing something outside the usual frame. Have you ever looked up and wondered, if there's an invisible boundary, could it just open right in front of you without any warning? That circle didn't look like the messy tear of a storm. It was perfectly round, balanced, and quiet. Around it, the white clouds rolled thick, but inside was just this pale gray emptiness, like the space had been sucked dry. Anyone standing underneath could only go silent, because the sight felt like a door, not loud, no thunder or lightning, but enough to make your mind slip off its normal track and drop into deep thought. Science calls this a fall streak hole. It happens when supercooled water droplets in the clouds suddenly freeze, often triggered by a plane flying through. The ice crystals fall and leave a thin streak, creating a clear, empty ring in the cloud layer. That explanation sounds complete, but when you're standing there looking at something so perfectly shaped in the sky, it's hard not to ask yourself, why right now, and why this exact image? Revelation 6:14 says, "The sky receded like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved from its place." Those old words suddenly came back to mind, not as an explanation, but like a mirror reflecting back. The picture of a sky folding, shrinking, and changing shape steps out from the sacred page into our modern world. So that gray circle is no longer just one lone event. Many people say it's purely a weather thing, nothing more. That argument makes sense, and no one denies the physics behind it. But faith has never rejected science. Faith just asks one extra question. When everything can be explained, does the meaning disappear because of that? Or is it right inside those normal things that the reminder is hidden even more carefully? Matthew 24-30 says, "Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven. All the peoples of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." This Bible verse doesn't describe a specific shape, but it stresses one thing. The sky will become the place where the final truth is shown, with no room left for indifference or putting things off. That fragile opening in the Texas clouds, whatever scientific name you give it, still stands there like a quiet invitation. It doesn't force you, doesn't shout. It just offers a choice inside your heart. When the door between the seen and the unseen seems to crack open a little, will you keep walking like you never saw anything? Or will you stop and ask yourself how ready you really are? 10 signs have shown up one by one, not all at once with a lot of noise, but steadily, like a quiet, steady knocking on the door of our conscience. From strange changes in the sky, the ground shaking, to society starting to fall apart, they all come together into one clear picture. Every piece points in the same direction. When you put them side by side, those events are no longer just random things happening. They feel like a quiet confirmation that the old warnings were never wrong. Ecclesiastes 1-9 says, "What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun." This Bible verse rings like a repeating cycle in history, reminding us that what's happening now isn't outside the plan that was told long ago. The only difference this time is things are coming faster, the quiet moments are shorter, and the chance to turn things around is more precious than ever. In the middle of all this, the call isn't about fear, it's about waking up. Repenting isn't running away, it's facing things honestly. Praying isn't just a ritual, it's a real, living connection. Living a holy life isn't about pulling away from the world. It's about keeping your heart from getting swept away. Every small choice we make today is quietly shaping where our soul will stand tomorrow. 1 Peter 1:16 says, "Be holy, because I am holy." That short Bible verse sets a clear standard in a time when the lines between right and wrong get blurry. As the world gets more comfortable with compromise, the call to be holy becomes a steady sign that separates us. Not loud, but firm. Not showy, but lasting. The signs we've talked about aren't meant to end the story. They open a fork in the road. The path ahead isn't neutral anymore, because staying silent is also a choice. When enough warning signs have appeared, the question isn't, what's going on anymore? It's where will you be found when the deciding moment comes near? Matthew 24-44 reminds us, so you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. That readiness isn't about having more information. It's about the condition of your heart. Every day that passes is another chance to adjust, to turn back, to choose your stand again. If these words touch something in your thinking, feel free to leave a short prayer or your own thoughts in the comments, like a personal marker on this bumpy journey. Sharing, following, and walking along with this channel doesn't just spread the message. It also helps keep the flame of being awake from dying out in all the noisy news. Thank you for taking the time to listen all the way to the end. May peace cover you and your family in the days ahead. May light guide the way as darkness grows, and may every choice be lit by the truth. Amen.
To our NISM leadership, our agency leadership, and every single city worker.
What's going on when so many strange things start happening all at once? Heavy snow blankets, big cities, roads get jammed, everyday life turns upside down. Up in the sky, birds fly around in crazy directions that don't make sense. In many places, sudden tornadoes appear out of nowhere, then vanish quickly, spreading worry through whole communities. These aren't just random events anymore. 10 signs come one after another, hitting hard and fast. From the ground to the sky, from nature to people's daily lives. Each one feels stronger, clearer, and harder to ignore than the last. Do you think this is simply just a coincidence? If your answer is no, then this video has come to you on purpose, like a message sent from the Lord, because right now you're about to see the missing pieces come together. Before we start this journey, please leave a prayer in the comments below. It's a way to tell God, Lord, I'm still listening to your signs. And now, you won't have to wait long. We're jumping right in with 1. Blizzard swallows New York City. A video spreading fast last night showed New York City almost disappearing under a thick blanket of snow. Familiar avenues got buried in just a few hours. Streetlights faded out. The subway shut down. Cars sat frozen in the middle of the streets. It left a lot of folks feeling uneasy and worried, including many of us, when we realized our normal daily rhythm had come to a sudden stop. New York City is one of America's biggest financial and transportation hubs. Millions of people count on electricity, subways, and flights every single day. When the storm hit, everything came to a halt all at once. It left this huge city wrapped in quiet, bitter cold, and tense waiting. According to Fox News, wind gusts reached up to 60 miles per hour. Heavy snow piled up several feet in a short time, knocking out power to more than 770,000 homes for a long stretch. Over 14,000 flights got canceled at big airports like LaGuardia and JFK. Thousands of vehicles were stuck solid under the snow. Road and air travel pretty much ground to a complete stop. Some reports say serious accidents happened because of poor visibility and icy roads, with confirmed deaths tied directly to the extreme weather. Those cold numbers show the damage wasn't just to buildings and things, it reached human lives too, spreading worry through the whole community. Weather experts call this Winter Storm Fern. It formed from a strong clash between Arctic cold air and moist air from the Atlantic. They say climate change is making winter storms stronger, with heavier snow and fiercer winds, overwhelming city systems that were built for milder conditions. But when you look at the city covered in darkness and ice, a lot of people can't help thinking of the warning in Luke 21:11. There will be great earthquakes, famines and pestilences in various places, and fearful sights and great signs from heaven. These scary scenes and signs in the sky seem to be showing up more and more. Matthew 24:7 talked about wide troubles too, where nature becomes part of the big global shaking. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. A blizzard like this isn't just weather anymore. It feels like a reminder of how fragile the order we depend on really is. Even Revelation 6:12 describes the sky changing in big crisis times. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red. When the light gets blocked and darkness takes over, fear spreads faster than the cold wind. Science can give a solid explanation, but the size, timing, and impact make it hard for many to brush off. This storm feels like a clear warning, pushing us to wake up to things slipping beyond our control. And if this is only the beginning, the question of what's coming next still hangs in the air. 2. Birds flying wildly over the sky in Kramatorsk. The afternoon sky over Kramatorsk was covered in a fading orange glow, the light slowly dying like it was being swallowed up. Against that sky, a dark moving mass suddenly appeared, spreading out and swirling around without any pattern. The flock of birds piled on top of each other, breaking formation, drawing jagged, chaotic lines that made the air feel suffocating. That moment gave the feeling that nature was reacting to something beyond normal sight. The scene turned eerie when the movement didn't calm down. It just got thicker and denser. Birds swooped low, then shot up high, changing direction over and over, forming a black net that covered the sunset. In that heavy atmosphere, have you ever wondered why animals react to things people haven't even noticed yet? It happened near Kramatorsk, a hotspot in eastern Ukraine, where the front line is only about 9 miles from some areas. This land has long been used to ongoing tension, but the image of this bird flock seemed to go beyond the usual disturbances. Many studies have recorded migrating birds changing routes to avoid conflict. For example, eagles and large birds often steer clear of airspace with fighting. Still, the level of chaos this time left many people struggling to explain it. Online communities quickly split into different opinions. Some said sounds from drones or military activity scared the birds, triggering a survival instinct that made them scatter. Others asked why similar things don't happen at the same time in other war zones. A neutral view shows science can explain part of it, but there are still gaps left unfilled. In those gaps, the Bible comes up as something to think about. Hosea 4:3 says, "Because of this the land dries up, and all who live in it waste away. The beasts of the field, the birds in the sky, and the fish in the sea are swept away." Those words bring up the picture of all creatures reacting when order is disturbed, like a warning sign before something bigger. Ezekiel 38-20 continues that thought. The fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, the beasts of the field, every creature that moves along the ground, and all the people on the face of the earth will tremble at my presence. Under this view, the trembling of the birds over Kramatorsk sky isn't just instinct, it's a sign of something shaking much deeper. Zephaniah 1-3 closes the connection. I will sweep away both man and beast. I will sweep away the birds in the sky and the fish in the sea, and the idols that cause the wicked to stumble. Those words make many believe that nature is sometimes used to send a message people can't easily ignore. When the flock left that fading orange sky, the space suddenly felt strangely empty. If the creatures have already sensed it and found a way to escape, the question left is, what will we make of that sign? And what choice is waiting ahead? 3. The strange tornado at Cedar Creek Lake, East Texas. A thin, thread-like tornado suddenly appeared behind the houses along Cedar Creek Lake in East Texas. It stretched from the ground up to the low clouds, like it was connecting two different worlds. That sight stopped a lot of people in their tracks, because the twister moved slowly and twisted in a way that felt really unusual, different from anything they'd seen before. Could you feel the unease right from that very first moment? The Cedar Creek Lake area is no stranger to storms and wild weather. But this time the tornado looked clearly different. It was skinny and long, moving slowly, like it was carefully feeling its way along the ground. That gave it a mysterious feeling that's hard to put into words. We were watching something fragile, yet terrifying at the same time, like a strange mark drawn across the calm Texas sky in the suburbs. Even though the tornado was narrow, its impact was real. Quite a few big trees got uprooted, roofs got torn apart, and some homes suffered heavy damage. It was a lot like what happens with an EF1 tornado, knocking down maybe 50 trees and wrecking a few houses in a small area. Seeing all that damage just made the feeling stronger that nature was sending some kind of hard-to-read message. With so many questions coming up, weather experts stepped in to explain. They said it was still a regular tornado formed by unstable weather conditions, the clash of temperatures and air pressure creating that spinning motion. But the skinny shape, the length, and the slow movement left many people wondering why this one felt so out of the ordinary. In the middle of all this, the Bible came up as something worth thinking about. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful sights and great signs from heaven." Those words, fearful sights, really bring to mind shocking things you see that make you stop and wonder what they mean. Matthew 24:7 adds more, "For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." When you put that thin tornado into the bigger picture of what's happening around the world, a lot of folks believe it's part of a chain of signs coming one after another in a way that feels full of meaning. From that view, the tornado at Cedar Creek Lake isn't just about weather anymore. It's seen as a wake-up call, a reminder that we're living in fragile times, when the normal order of things can get pulled apart at any moment. It leaves us with bigger questions about being ready and staying awake. As that thin twister faded into the sky, the feeling it left behind stayed with a lot of people. If it really was like a string tying heaven and earth together, is it pulling humanity closer to chaos, or giving us a chance to look back at the path we're on? 4. Volcano eruption in Hawaii. The morning in Hawaii started with bright red lava shooting straight up into the sky. The intense firelight cut through the misty air and put the whole area on alert right away. The trouble hit fast. The volcano erupted hard, sending out flames and ash at the same time, turning a peaceful scene into a dangerous zone in just a moment. It happened near Kilauea Park, a place known for strong geological activity, but rarely showing this kind of sudden power so early in the day. Lava fountains rose hundreds of feet high, their red glow reflecting off low clouds and creating a heavy, urgent feeling. Ash started falling on nearby roads, covering cars and plants within about 1-2 miles. The eruption quickly grew stronger as lava columns covered roughly 80–85% of the crater. The peak came during eruption episode 41, with lava fountains reaching up to 1,600 feet. The ground shook, and the whole area lit up like an ocean of fire. A normal morning turned into a life-or-death moment, where every passing minute brought new danger. Local authorities immediately sent out emergency warnings. People were told to stay away from the area, get ready to evacuate, and follow safety instructions closely. Roads near the park were closed off, and rescue teams kept watching the lava's path and how far the ash was spreading. You could feel the tension. Every decision had to be made in a very short time. Geologists quickly looked into the causes and effects. They pointed out rising pressure in the magma chamber, plus strong tectonic movements as the reasons the eruption became so intense. With one burst following another, the longer-term problems include air pollution, risk of ground collapse, and serious damage to the environment and people's lives in the surrounding area. In the middle of these warnings, the Bible speaks like a serious reminder. Revelation 6:12 says, "There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red. The red of the lava and the ash covering the morning sky strongly bring to mind the images of blood and darkness mentioned in that prophecy. Luke 21:11 goes on to say, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful sights and great signs from heaven." Those fearful sights seem very real in this volcano eruption, where the fire becomes a clear warning sign. From this view, the lava carries a meaning of cleansing, a reminder that every action leads to consequences. We face a choice: listen to the warnings and get ready, or just see it as one rough morning that quickly passes. As the flow of fire keeps going and the ash keeps falling, one question remains. If the lava reaches the ocean and widens the destruction, is it only a natural event, or is it a wake-up call for humanity to pay attention before it's too late? 5. Bright red lightning bolts paint scary pictures across the sky. Bright red lightning suddenly flashes high above the storm, tearing through the dark night and drawing strange, twisted branches across the sky, enough to make us freeze for a few short seconds. These aren't the usual ground-level flashes we're used to. Instead, they're red streaks hanging way up high, appearing and vanishing so fast that the creepy feeling lingers even after the light is gone. This has been spotted over strong storms in highland areas, where the air is thin and the updrafts are really intense. These red lightning bolts, also called red sprites, show up above the tops of thunderclouds, spreading out like giant tree roots. They stretch for tens of miles, covering a huge patch of sky and making the space above the storm look like a painting that's both beautiful and frightening. From a science view, meteorologists say this happens when powerful lightning below the clouds excites nitrogen in the very high atmosphere, around 56 miles up from the ground. The electrical energy makes the nitrogen glow red for just a split second, creating these rare images. But what catches a lot of attention lately is how much more often they're showing up in videos people share now, way more than in the past records. On social media, the debate heats up fast. Some folks say it's just a rare atmospheric thing that's being captured better now thanks to modern cameras. Others think the increase points to unusual changes in our climate and the energy in the atmosphere. And some believe these red bolts mean something beyond pure science, like a warning signal that people haven't fully figured out yet. Which way do you lean when you see the sky suddenly turn bright red like that? In the middle of those thoughts, the Bible comes to mind as a suggestion. Luke 21:11 says, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful sights, and great signs from heaven." Those great signs from heaven bring to mind these strange lights happening way up high, something we can only watch, not touch or change. Revelation 8-5 paints an even stronger picture. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth. And there came peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. Fire from heaven, thunder, lightning, and shaking ground all put together. It makes a clear warning scene. From a faith perspective, these red lightning bolts can feel like a reminder that the sky isn't quiet while things shake up down here on earth. They appear quietly but strong enough to make us lift our heads, look up, and think about what's coming closer. As those red streaks keep flashing in the next storms, the question still hangs there. Is this just rare atmospheric light? Or are these tongues of fire signaling that a decisive time is slowly beginning to open up? 6. Mysterious figure on the very top of the mountain. Up high in the thick clouds over the tall mountain range, a human-like shadow suddenly appeared against the sun, clear enough to make us stop and stare for a long time. The figure had its arms spread wide, standing right between the bright light and the mountain peak. It looked more like a vision from heaven than just some random trick of nature. A group of hikers spotted it. The shadow showed up, then slowly faded into the clouds, leaving behind a deep, hard-to-name feeling. When they zoomed in on the photo, the outline of a body came through sharp and clear, with a soft, glowing halo all around it. At that height, clouds kept rolling across the slopes, making the figure appear and disappear, like it was coming closer, then pulling back. That moment hit us with a question we couldn't shake. If this is just light and shadow, why does it stir our hearts so strongly? From a science view, this is usually called a Brocken specter. It's an optical illusion that happens when the sun shines from behind someone high up, casting their shadow onto the clouds in front, and a colorful ring of light forms around it. Similar sightings have happened at Canyonlands National Park, where high ground and low clouds set up the perfect conditions. The explanation sounds straightforward, but that image of a figure with arms outstretched in the clouds still leaves many people wondering if there's something deeper. In that same line of thought, the Bible offers another way to see it. Matthew 24-30 says, "Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven, with power and great glory." Those words, "coming on the clouds of heaven," ring out powerfully when you put them next to this shadow in the clouds, like a hint of a presence that goes beyond ordinary sight. Revelation 1-7 adds to that feeling. "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, and all peoples on earth will mourn because of him." In the Bible, clouds aren't just weather. They're the space where holy things are revealed to people. On the other side, meteorologists point out that a Brocken specter comes from light, angles, and special air conditions. They explain exactly how the halo forms and why the shadow gets enlarged on the clouds, calling it proof of how amazing optics can be. So two views sit side by side. One is the scientific formula. The other is the spiritual experience you can feel the moment you see the picture. What's striking is this: no matter what name you give it, that moment, when the figure appears, still has the power to quiet the heart and make us think about a presence greater than nature. In those rare seconds, nature becomes a curtain that lets something much bigger show through. As the clouds keep drifting and the light shifts, the figure fades away. But the question stays: is it only a trick of the light, or a quiet reminder that some signs only appear when we stop, look up, and really pay attention? 7. Mysterious blue meteor leaves a tear in the sky over Japan. In just a few short seconds, the sky above the sea near Japan suddenly got torn open by a bright green streak. It shot straight down toward the horizon, so fast that every camera catching it shook a little. Things happened so quickly that a lot of folks only had time to see one green line cutting through the dark night, leaving them with the feeling that something had just dropped from way up high. The event was caught near Mount Fuji and Sakurajima, places where volcanoes still quietly rumble underground. The meteor glowed a blue-green color and left behind a long white trail like a rip across the sky before it vanished over the ocean. Video from the CCTV system at the Hiratsuka City Museum shows the light was strong enough to brighten a huge area in an instant, making a picture that was clear yet hard to explain. Early analysis says the object was moving at extremely high speed, typical of a meteor entering the atmosphere. The green color likely came from metals like nickel or magnesium burning up from friction with the air. Still, that cold blue shade and unusual brightness left many people watching the footage feeling uneasy because it looked so different from the usual meteors we see. In that moment, it's easy to notice how most people naturally look up and wait for something more to happen, as if that streak of light hadn't finished its story yet. The silence after the glow faded made the sense of warning feel even stronger. When we put this event next to the Bible, Luke 21:25 comes across like a direct warning. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. Those signs in the sun, moon, and stars bring to mind strange lights appearing in the sky, along with a growing feeling of trouble spreading on the ground. Revelation 6:13 paints an even stronger picture. And the stars in the sky fell to earth. As figs drop from a fig tree when shaken by a strong wind, stars falling from heaven are described as something sudden and without warning, enough to shake people's sense of safety. From a science view, astronomers see this as a natural meteor, with a clear physical explanation for the color and path. But when placed beside Bible language, the event takes on another layer of meaning, like a reminder that the sky has its own voice in sensitive times. As a warning sign, the image of a blue meteor falling near a strongly active volcanic area creates an urgent feeling that's hard to shake off. Fire from deep underground and light from the sky showing up in the same period make a thought-provoking overlap between nature and the spiritual. Once that streak of light melted into the dark night, what remained wasn't just video footage or scientific answers. It was a moment that made many people pause and think farther ahead. The tear in the sky may have closed, but the story behind it seems to still be unfolding. 8. The cloud that looked like an eye. The morning started with a calm, still sky, then suddenly got interrupted by something that made a lot of people stop and stare. High up in the clouds, a huge eye slowly came into view. With sunlight shining right through the center like an opening pupil, that moment was caught in just a few quick seconds, long enough to make your heart beat a little faster. Have you ever paused under the sky and wondered why the light today feels so different? Local fishermen and folks in Inner Mongolia shared the story. That's the area where clouds often shift and change a lot in the early hours. Against a pale blue sky, the clouds swirled into a perfect circle with sharp edges, rays of light spreading out from the middle, making the whole thing look exactly like an eye looking straight down at the ground. The picture spread fast, and people started calling it the Eye of God. Many say this happens when early morning sun shines through layers of thick and thin clouds, creating those crepuscular rays and strong light and shadow contrasts. Still, this one felt more alive than usual. Crisp cloud edges, a deep bright center, and a slight sense of movement that made people feel like they were being watched. That feeling is what makes the photos so hard to forget. People often bring up Revelation 1-7 from the Bible in moments like this. Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, even those who pierced him, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn because of him. Yes, amen. The image of clouds and a gaze from above brings out that familiar idea. A presence that's quiet, but covers everything. Another verse that comes up is Psalm 34:15. The eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their cry. Next to this cloud, the message feels closer. The look isn't only for judging, it's also for listening. We stand under that sky in the middle of ordinary days, but we're never invisible. Of course, science calls this pareidolia, the brain seeing familiar shapes in random patterns. That makes sense. But what really stays with people isn't the scientific name. It's the shared feeling that comes up: stillness, awe, and a clear sense of moral responsibility when we look up. As the light faded and the wind carried the clouds away, the question lingered. If there really is a gaze following even our small choices each day, how would that change the way we live today? Do you feel that quiet reminder pointing somewhere? 9. Prayer group creates a mystery under the river in South America. The calm water suddenly swayed a little, then turned white like an invisible hand was gently holding 4 people, standing right in the middle of the river. That moment came out of nowhere, without warning, and it felt like all the sounds around just got sucked away. How would you react if you saw the water answering people's quiet whispers like that? It happened at a wide stretch of river in South America, where the local people often gathered to pray. 4 folks held hands in a circle, eyes closed, standing steady even though the current was strong. No loud shouting, just this strange quietness covering everything, as if the whole river was listening. When they lifted their hands, the water started to change. Little ripples appeared around the circle and spread into a thin layer of white waves. They didn't crash hard. They just wrapped around gently. The flow outside kept going like normal, but that spot became unusually peaceful, giving a feeling that was both safe and hard to explain. In moments like that, people often bring up James 5:16. So confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. The way the water changed made many think of an unseen power you can really feel. Similar scenes have shown up in different places along the Amazon, where communities believe spiritual energy can touch the world around them. Sure, science might say it's just local currents or underwater winds, but the timing, almost exactly when they prayed, still leaves room to wonder. What are we seeing when nature seems to answer faith? The promise in Matthew 18:20 comes like a key. For where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there am I with them. You don't need a big crowd, just unity. That's enough to change the air around you. The peak came as the water slowly settled, the waves fading like they'd never been there. That moment brings to mind Psalm 107:29. He stilled the storm to a whisper. The waves of the sea were hushed. The first fear turned into hope, that even in chaos, peace can still come down. Maybe it was all just a natural thing that happened to line up with a special moment. But the way the prayer and the water's response matched so closely leaves a question that's hard to shake. If faith can calm a river's waves, could it have the strength to guide humanity through the last big wave waiting ahead? 10. Strange bright lights moving around a red and white cloud. On a dark night sky, a bunch of bright lights suddenly showed up. They moved all over the place around one cloud that was red mixed with white. Nobody quite knew what to call it. They didn't fly in any neat line, didn't drop straight down, and didn't just hang still. Instead, they circled, split apart, then came back together, stirring up everything above like it was being churned. Have you ever seen something that just by looking at it made your heart start asking questions you can't even put into words? People saw this in wide open sky areas, from the east coast of the U.S. all the way to the desert parts of Arizona, places where city lights don't wash out the stars. That night was unusually quiet. No rain, no wind, no thunder or lightning, but this red and white cloud just hung there, standing out sharp against the black sky. That strong contrast made it impossible to brush off as some small thing. The lights kept blinking and moving without any clear pattern. Sometimes they gathered close to the cloud. Sometimes they spread far out, then came right back. They moved slow but steady, giving the feeling they were circling around or guarding something in the middle. No sound came with them, no long burning trails, just this heavy silence that made it hard to look away. Luke 21:25 talked about this in a very clear way. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be anxious and confused because of the roaring of the sea. When strange lights move up above and the air down here starts feeling heavy, that sense of being unsettled doesn't feel like just your imagination anymore. A lot of people said maybe they were satellites, drones, or some kind of flying string of lights. But that red and white cloud is still the hardest part to explain. The color didn't spread out like storm clouds do, and it didn't fade away quick like mist. It held its shape steady for quite a while. That quiet, solid presence made the moving lights around it feel even more troubling. Joel 2:30 describes the final judgment with strong pictures. I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke. A red cloud with lights swirling around it brings those wonders in the heavens to mind, not loud and sudden, but enough to plant a deep, lasting unease. When the lights slowly faded and drifted away, the cloud got dimmer too, then melted into the darkness, leaving an empty stretch of sky that felt strangely cold. What just happened didn't give any clear answer. It only left one question hanging. Were those wild movements just some natural thing, or are they opening the door for something even bigger coming soon? Here are the 10 events we've just seen. They don't stand alone like random bits of news. Instead, they connect one after another, forming a clearer line over time. From the sky, the oceans, the mountains, and forests, right down to those quiet moments between people and nature, everything points to a growing rhythm of disorder. Natural disasters are coming more often now. Earthquakes, huge storms, flash floods, and droughts are happening more frequently. At the same time, tension between countries isn't calming down at all. Alongside that, there are strange sights in the sky, in the clouds, in the light, and even in small moments of prayer that seem so ordinary. Each one can be explained by itself, but when you put them side by side, they form a chain that makes it hard for the heart to stay calm. In the Bible, Matthew 24-44 says it plainly, "So you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him." Those words aren't meant to scare us. They're a reminder to stay awake and alert. When the signs come faster and stronger, the important thing isn't trying to guess the exact time. It's getting our hearts ready. In the middle of all the noise of life, it's easy to get caught up in the news, the arguments, and the worries, and forget to turn back to repentance and prayer. Each of these events isn't mentioned just to make us curious. They're meant to wake up our conscience, to invite us to pause and look deeper into our own spiritual life. The preparation doesn't start somewhere far away. It begins with very simple, everyday choices close to home. If something here touches your heart, feel free to leave a prayer or a sincere thought in the comments. Those words aren't just interaction. They're a connection between hearts that are all searching for peace and truth together. When the message spreads, more people get the chance to stop and think. So you don't miss any future reminders, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Every small action helps carry the message to others who need to be awakened and comforted. Finally, thank you from the heart, you and your family, for taking the time to listen. May peace cover every home and every heart in these uncertain days. Amen. What's happening to this world when the sky changes color, the ground reacts, and people are just left stunned and confused? Right in the first days of the new year, everything seems to speed up, hitting one after another with no time for anyone to get ready. These aren't the usual events we're used to. They're strange signs showing up one after another, slamming right into our beliefs, our fears, and our questions about whether tomorrow will even come. Snow pouring down where there should only be sunshine, rocks taking on shapes of living things, daylight swallowed up in the middle of the day, huge shadowy figures appearing, the sky shaking like it's being pulled out of its normal order. 10 events, not random, not separate, coming one right after the other like a drumbeat, getting faster and louder, forcing the whole world to look up and ask, where exactly are we in all of this? If there's still a quiet prayer in your heart, go ahead and leave it in the comments as a way to hold on tight to your faith before this story unfolds, things that might make you feel like humanity's time is shorter than ever. And right now, so you don't have to wait, let's just get started with 1. A terrifying blizzard hit Nathia Gali, Pakistan, a shocking disaster in the middle of a tropical hill area. No one expected a snowstorm in a place that's usually all about sunshine and pine forests, and that sudden moment really stops you in your tracks. Everything seemed normal, but in just a few hours, Nathia Gali got thrown into a whole different world. The cold came out of nowhere, making you wonder what's really changing in the way the world usually works. Nathia Gali is a quiet hill resort town in northern Pakistan, sitting about 7,900 feet up, known for its cool, peaceful weather. But early in 2026, the sky just dropped heavy snow, strong winds, and temperatures plunging way below 0 Fahrenheit. The mountain roads got completely blocked. Snow-buried cars, people were stuck for hours in brutal conditions, and rescue teams couldn't get there fast enough. According to CNN, at least dozens of vehicles got buried. Many folks ended up with serious hypothermia, and local hospitals were overwhelmed. Local authorities kept sending out urgent warnings: stay off the mountain roads, stay home, But most of those messages came too late. Chaos spread quick as traffic stopped, power went out, and families had to dig themselves out of the snow with little hope. Behind those cold numbers and neutral reports, the Bible opens up another layer of meaning. Matthew 24:7 says, "Nation will rise against